Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. I'm your host, Amreen Nadeem, and today's topic is about leadership, the art of leading beyond titles. Leadership is an art and is not just about being in charge. As Simon Sinek says that it's about taking care of those in your charge. It's not about you that you lead with your title and you lead with power. It's more about taking care of the people and then use your power to give to empower others. And like especially like now, even if we look at the stats and the studies, it says that around 60% of the people or of the employees say that they have left job because of the bad leaders, not because of their bad company. So leader plays a very important role, especially in your career or even building a good company culture. So today our guest is Dain Dunston. He's the author of Self-Aware Leader Being Essential. Uh, and he has spent several years exploring what truly sets a great leader apart. And it is not just a title on the business card, it's more about their awareness, presence, and ability to inspire others. So let's welcome Dain. Hi, Dain. Thank you
Hey,
so much for joining.
nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for joining. It's truly an honor to have you with us on this podcast.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Loving to talk.
Thank you so much. And it's such an important topic. And as I just mentioned, that almost 60% of the people, employees, actually leave their jobs because of the bad leaders.
Yeah.
And like it's important that companies realize this fact. It's important that every individual realize that they are leader within themselves, not just leader are the ones that who are given certain titles. And you know the best, and you have written in your book. I've been actually enjoying your book. I just finished your book and I love the book. It's really it's the I would say the way you actually make this philosophy and then you put it like into this like try to integrate with the leadership. It's amazing. I really loved it, so I would love to talk about it more.
Let's do it.
But yeah, but before we start the discussion, uh, just tell us a bit more about your journey, so so the audience actually get to know you better.
Well, thanks. Well, so I I grew up with very educated family. Uh, my mother was an artist. I
Wow.
grew up surrounded by uh, really good books and people who like to spend a lot of time reading. On the music was classical music or modern jazz, um,
Mm-hmm.
art all over the place. Um, when I was very little, my parents were not wealthy; they were just starting out, but they had prints of Paul Klee and Picasso on the wall. So
Wow.
I grew up kind of with a mind set to look around and find art in life around me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and and so as I grew, I think something happened where I was less interested in making grades and really bored with school,
Mm-hmm.
and but just read voraciously. And I had another odd talent, which is that I was a really good class clown. I could get
Oh.
laughs, but the only person I was trying to get a laugh out of was the teacher,
Mhm.
because I was really
That's
listening
interesting.
to what he or she was saying. And if I could make them laugh, then I knew I really understood the topic.
Yeah.
So what happened is I got into a very good university, spent some time there, but I was found myself with limited interest in most of what was being taught, uh,
Mm.
but very, very interested in all of the speakers who were coming to visit, who were yogis, or
Mm-hmm.
I remember Pir Vilayat Inayat Khan, who was a Sufi teacher, came. Carlos Castanedas came. Baba Ramdas came. These were people who had books out about how to think and live from your spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my third year of college, I literally uh, put my thumb out and started hitchhiking east from California, and it ended up 2 years later. I was 21, and by the time I was 23, I was in London running a yoga center,
Mm-hmm.
and just kept doing that work for a long time. Um, and for a while, it was really exciting. I really enjoyed it. It was hard to make a living at it.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of by the time I was in my mid 30s, I I sort of hit bottom in a way. Um, I wasn't getting where I wanted to go spiritually. I was having trouble making enough money, and I had jobs which were okay, but they weren't really what I wanted to do. And what I really wanted to do was write. And I was writing, but it was things that weren't getting paid, right? So I was writing short stories and poetry, and a lot of art magazines were picking them up and publishing them, which was very fun. But
Mm-hmm.
paid for that. I was editing a yoga journal, didn't get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had this sense that if I sort of stuck my thumb out again and said, I'm going to go for this ride, um, that I would make it. And I didn't know how, but I found clients who hired me to write brochures and ads and things for them, and I was making just enough money to get through.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I saw an editorial in a car magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It was a kid, I liked cars. I was 37 and a half, and they were talking about quality in
Mm-hmm.
US manufactured automobiles at the time. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, it was in the mid 1980s, and quality was really pretty bad. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought I had a sense of why from all the reading I've been doing, or at least a way I could take it and make sense. So I wrote an article called How Chevrolet Lost Its Mojo, how they lost their magic.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it off to the car magazine, and I didn't even get a rejection letter. I didn't hear a thing from them. But 2 months later, the phone rang.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice said, "Hi, my name is Don Runkle. I'm the chief engineer at General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to you about this article."
Wow.
And it turned out that the magazine editor had sent it to him. He said that they had been trying to articulate this for 10 years, and I did 10 pages. And could I turn it into a speech for him? And it was such a moment of grace.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, the following week, was in Detroit meeting with him. And then that led to other people who wanted to work with me and found out about what I was doing. And I became a speechwriter for the biggest companies in the world. And then I became, they had to get up on stage and work, give the speech. And then I became a speech coach, helping them how they would come across. And then from that, people started saying, "Hey, I don't have an executive coach. Could you meet me off stage and let's go talk?"
Mm-hmm.
And so really that's what I've been doing for the last 30 years.
Wow, what an inspiring journey you had. I mean, all I could just say that, it's like your journey reminds me of like Steve Jobs. You can't connect the job, while looking in the future, but only you can, when you look back, you can just connect dots. So, I mean, what I see is like everything happens for a reason, which led you to the path that was meant for you.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing that how you landed up here.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. We all talk about being in the right place at the right time, but that's not enough. You have to be the right person in the right place at the right time. And in this case, I was.
Yeah, I think there's one question. This is Geeta is asking that how can we access that article? So
I have I have a paper copy of it up in the attic. I will get it down, scan it, and I'll post it on LinkedIn. But I need to do that.
Yeah, I think Geeta should follow Dain, so you will get the copy. So yeah, I think you wrote about this in your book, right? Especially which I actually just read it. So what inspired you to write this book, The Self-Aware Leader Being Essential?
I a few years ago sort of went through another period where I wasn't happy. I was
Mhm.
successful, but I wasn't happy. Uh,
Mhm.
and I thought that there was more and I was missing something. So
Mhm.
I really started reading books by other coaches and reading other people's work. I started working with a coach of my own who, but
Mhm.
turned out to be not only brilliant, he's written 8 books, but he was, I don't want to call him a Zen master because he's not technically a Zen master, but
Mhm.
let me put it this way. He is a grand master in 3 uh, Japanese martial arts. 3.
Wow,
And,
that's
and
amazing.
a grand master in, say, Aikido, there's
Mhm.
only about 10 grand masters in the world. And you have to be
Wow.
named grand master by the other grand master.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
suddenly, again, right person in the right place at the right time. I got to work with him and other people, and then started getting really interested in doing this. So I thought I had a framework for a book probably in 2017, 2018.
Mhm.
And I did, but as I started to work on it and write it, something changed. And I realized that what had to be in there was a real step through understanding who you were.
Mhm.
Um, and in fact, the framework I had for it before was something that you will recognize as nice but wrong. It was called
Okay.
Need to Know, and I wanted to put a list of the 7 things you needed to know, or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it wasn't that it was bad information, but
Yeah.
it was the wrong approach. And I quickly learned that no, I don't need 7 things that I need to know. I need
Mhm.
questions that I need to ask,
Uh,
because that's the difference. Having all the answers will get you nowhere. You need to have all the questions.
mhm.
That
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's where I started. So I started doing that in the book, and that's where the rest of it all came from.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why, like, I know that all your chapters are just a question, and then you answers that all those questions, that how important it is, especially like you started with who you are, why you're doing this,
Yeah,
and why you're here, which I found those questions very philosophical and spiritual, because we all have this like questions that we try to find out, why are we here, what are we doing this, but it gives us the clarity. And one thing that actually starts uh, so much, that you talk about the present moment, right? You
yes,
have to be in the present moment to grab that opportunity. And which really like is this, when you said that, where there was thing that what you want from the moment actually defines that moment. I really love that. But could you explain a little bit more on that?
yeah. So the 2 questions that you just mentioned is who am I being and what do I want?
Yeah.
Um, and those actually came from a meeting I was having with a new CEO.
Mm-hmm.
He had been the leader of who had been the president of a division of this company. Um, and the board at some point decided they would spin off his part of the company, and the other parts would go and do other things. Very, very successful company. They were the biggest dairy products company
Mm-hmm.
in the United States and Canada. So they were huge. And suddenly he had gone from being part of a division of a Fortune 150 company to a CEO of a Fortune 350 company. So it was still a big company. And he had all of his C-suite people had never been in that position before. They'd been division head of HR, division head of finance, but not for the whole company. And that's a very, very different thing, because things you say when you're the head of a public company or in the top leadership can be heard around the world, and maybe not in a good way. So as he and I were talking about the stress that he was under, he said, I'm really having trouble taking it. He said, I walk down the hallways and I feel everybody looking at me. They're staring at me. They're trying to read my language, how I'm walking, what my face is doing, my body language. And he says, I feel so self-conscious that they're all wondering if I'm up to the job. And if I'm not, then what are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, so just here's every time you stand up from your desk, I want you to ask two questions. The first question is, who am I being? And the second question is, what do I want? And so the language is very specific. It's who am I being in this moment, right now, as I stand up at my desk. It's not who did I promise my mother I would be, or my teacher I would be. No, it's not that. It's just who am I right now? Who am I? And then asking who I'm being changes who I'm being. Just because suddenly I'm aware of who I'm being, and particularly if it's free, if I'm not trying to give myself something of here's who I'm being. I'm being about no, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And changing who you're being changes what you want. So the example I use is maybe he was going to get up from his desk, march down the hallway to marketing, and yell at a few people because we've just spent millions of dollars on this campaign and we're getting no returns on it. And what are you idiots doing? Now he says, that's not what I want to do. No. What I want to do is be amused and interested in what people are doing and knowing they're doing their best. And I want to go down and see how I can help. What do they need? Maybe we need to invest more. Maybe we need some help, and just find it out. And suddenly that changes his or her whole day as a leader. It also changes everything for all the people around them.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I've got a very good comment here from this talk is so timely. And yesterday with a passion, I questioned the text of all three religions that inspired me. It started with questioning behind deities as they are shown miraculous powers, and then I questioned the accuracy of anything written. GPT was confronted with my dilemma, and though it is still not fully answered, it appears all religions cause duality when humans practice them, but in essence, the lesson is non-duality.
Wow.
So this is very philosophical.
Gita, that was really beautiful. So it's interesting the way so many of us just blame religion and say, well, it didn't do anything for me, or but really it's clearing our minds out so that we can actually hear what our religion is telling us, whatever religion it is. We actually feel it, what it's telling us. And you mentioned the question asking, where am I? Is it's a really interesting question. Martin Buber was a professor from Europe who survived the Holocaust. He was Jewish, survived the Holocaust, teaching at the University of Jerusalem. And at the end of the World War, he came back to Europe. They were having a conference of all the academics who could attend. It was up near Amsterdam. And they were just trying to not just reestablish the schools after this horrible war, but reestablish their lives and their connections and get education going again. And so he stood up and he gave 7 speeches over the week. The first speech, he stood up and he told a story of a Hasidic pastor who was been put in jail in St. Petersburg in Russia. And probably just for being a Jew. And as he's sitting there, he notices a very dignified looking man in uniform looking in the cell at him. The man comes in and introduces himself. He turns out to be the chief of police. And he's very polite and asks some questions. But then he says, Rabbi, you're a spiritual man. You know the scriptures very well. Something's always confused me. He says, in the Bible, God goes into the Garden of Eden and calls out, and it's the first question he asks in the Bible. He goes in and calls out, Adam, where are you? And he says, that's always confused me, because if God knows everything, why doesn't he know where Adam is? And the rabbi says, oh, I understand. He says, you misunderstood the question. God's not asking where Adam is. He knows where Adam is. He's asking Adam if he knows where he is, because that's what he's going to need to build his life. So when we ask each other, so I read that and I thought, well, if that's the first question in the Bible, it probably ought to be the first question in my book.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's powerful, and it's a question. Have you ever had the experience of you get up from the table or your desk and you walk through the house into another room, and then suddenly you stop and you have no idea why you went there? You went to get something,
Yeah.
but then you're standing there saying, why am I here? So often, I think, in our lives, we do that, but we do it over a period of years. And suddenly we're in a job, we have a family, we have commitments, and suddenly one day we look around and say, where am I? And why am I here? And so really pinning that down, it's the where am I can sometimes be, why am I in this room? Where am I here? But it can also be, where is my head? Where is my heart? Where is my essential self? And then the follow-up question is, why am I here? You know? And if the first answer to the first one is, I don't know where my essential self is, it seems to be lost. Well, why am I here? To find it? Maybe. Let's go look and see where it is. Identify what's just happened.
Yeah, that's so beautifully, like you explained it so beautifully. You've written it in your book as well. It's so amazing. Like when you say that, we actually we are here for a purpose, and a lot of time we don't know, right, what's happening, why we are here. And there's a study also, it says that around like 95% people think that they are self-aware, but in actuality only 10 to 15% people are the ones who actually are self-aware. So what do you think, why there is a gap? Do people don't care about that? Why they know themselves, or they're overconfident that they really know everything about themselves?
Well, that's a great question, and I think it's probably a number of different things. I mean, I think most people, when they are asked the question of their self-aware or about their self-awareness, they think, yeah, I'm Dain, I live in Texas, and I'm a writer. I know who I am, but they're missing the point of the question, right? The self-awareness is, who in this moment am I being? Who in this moment, where's my head? Where's my heart? Where's my thoughts? And that's what we're not aware of. Or we're gripping them, and we're sort of grinding on, holding as tight as we can to some image of ourselves that we want to have. But that's not who we are.
Yeah.
And we spend our life trying to be someone we're not, which is, wow, what a trap.
Yeah. That's true. I think most of the time when I ask people that who they are, they define only their career, right? That it is their title, and this is what I do, or this is something like this. But actually, we need to realize that we are more than just these titles, and that's even the title of our discussion today. It's the leadership beyond titles. So I think it is like even our presence is beyond titles, beyond these designations that we achieve, or all these achievements that we are. So if I ask you to define that, what exactly is who you are, or like how does any one person should define them? So what would be your recommendation? What do you suggest?
I suggest first stopping thinking you know who you're being. because I think we are in many ways strangers to ourselves. And then I think the next thing is start really looking for a sense of what's really inside. You read the book, so there's a section of the book where I ask readers to go back and look at a moment in childhood,
Yeah.
and I call it the essential child, the a moment when you could be standing somewhere in the world and have a sense of timelessness, a sense of wonder, a sense
Mhm.
of oneness with everything. I've got a great quote from Joseph Campbell, who's written all the books on like how to understand story and understand. Um,
Mhm.
he said, "What did you do as a child that created timelessness?
Mhm.
There lies the myth to live by." And
Wow.
let me give an example. My wife Jean, she grew up. Her father was in the Navy and was a cook on ships a lot, or would travel around, and she would constantly have to move around the world as a small child.
Mhm.
And somewhere around 8 years old, they were living near a Navy base in Rhode Island in the United States. And she woke up one spring morning, her window was open, and she could smell the air, and something about it felt magical. Still dark, she got dressed and she walked down the street to the end of the block where there was an apple tree. And from there, the street went downhill. And from there, you could see into the eastern sky, which was just starting to turn orange.
Mhm.
There was the ocean heading out to it. She
Mhm.
climbed up there and stood holding on to the trees and felt like she was dancing, felt like she owned the world, like she was in control of the world, like she was steering the world towards the sun.
Wow.
Um, and it was so profound that she remembered it all of her life. And when I was writing the book, I mentioned this part to her, and she
Yeah.
told me this story. And what's interesting was, imagine that, but she ended up being also a speechwriter and a speech
Mhm.
coach and a creative director and a film writer and
Wow.
was a dancer choreographer.
Wow. This is so.
Of feeling that she could control creation and creativity. That's
Wow.
one of those moments that we look for. So I'm going to ask you, did you ever have a moment like that when you read that? Did something come up that you could share?
I mean, I would just say that there are lots of moments. I would say that uh, I call these moments aha moments, right?
Uh-huh.
When you actually trying to find out that what are the questions. I mean, because when I actually wrote my book, um, I had a lot of questions in my mind, and I wanted to find out that what are these questions. And the same, actually, I would just say that the same question that you had actually written, that why are we here,
Yeah.
what are the purpose of this, and I look for the answers, I would say, in almost different fields like quantum physics, psychology, philosophy, spirituality.
Yeah.
But there are some moments, like, when you, I mean, those moments when I actually, which you are saying, that is those aha moments, I usually get it when I talk to myself. When
Yeah.
I try to have a conversation with myself, that, okay, what does that mean? So I didn't find the answers, to be honest, from those books or something. This definitely, those books gave me a lot of inspiration and gave me more questions and gave me, but the answer I found was basically from myself. And then I realized that it was all within me, in myself.
Yeah.
And those moments were really aha moment. And when you mentioned that oneness part, oh my God, that is when I would say that when you try to surrender yourself and then you just go in the flow, then I think that when you feel that kind of course, I'm not nowhere near to that oneness, but at least I could feel that, I'm the part of the big universe. I'm not just a human being or maybe something. I'm here to experience something which is beyond what is just the physical world.
Well, and I would challenge one thing that you said when you said
Okay.
I am not part of the oneness. You are. And you do go there and you've had the feelings of being there. But here's what happens. And what I was trying to show in the book is we have this, what I call the essential child, the essential self, which is this part of us that does live in oneness with all nature.
Yeah.
But we have hidden it away because we started learning at a very early age that we had to protect ourselves. We had to wrap ourselves in steel or brick or whatever it is. So A, that we would not be hurt, and B, that we would not be discovered and people would find how young and foolish and stupid we were. And then, we go to daycare or other children, and we start being told by other 4-year-olds that we're stupid and we're no good or whatever it is. Yeah. And we believe them. And so half the things we think about ourselves came from other 4 and 5-year-olds. I mean, but, and then as we grow, we just keep shutting it down. We get into school and basically we're told, sit down, shut up, and stop asking questions.
Yeah.
We don't care about your questions. We want you to memorize these things that we're putting on the board here. You write them down and remember them. And so we remember them, but we don't have meaning.
Yeah. There's a question from Geeta again. She was saying that, can you please tell us more about the Sufi scholar you met?
Yeah. Pir Vilayat Inayat Khan was just a wonderful man. He was intelligent and scholarly. He was also humble and a little bit shy. And I had met him when he spoke at the University of California, and had a conversation with him with a group. I mean, we met. And then when I was running the yoga center in London, I saw that he was in town to give a talk. And so I went, reintroduced myself, told him when we had met, and he didn't remember me, but he remembered the time, and started talking. And the wonderful thing was, I said, well, where are your people? Who's going to drive you? He said, oh, I don't have any people here. I don't have, I'll just get a taxi. I said, no, you won't. I mean, let me drive you to where you're staying. And ended up, I spent the entire week serving as his disciple.
Wow.
And just being with him and talking and doing stuff. And, the Sufi practice is a meditative branch of Islam that is also built around dance. And so Sufis dance to enter the oneness, pray to enter the oneness. Poets like Rumi, he was a Sufi, and it's just this wonderful. So I came away from there really inspired and really moved by who he was and wanted to be like him. And he wasn't the only person who ever came along that I wanted to be like, but it was like, he was amazing, very humble and very sweet.
Yeah, you described very nicely. I think sometimes when you find those people, you would love to spend time with them and you learn a lot. I mean, I would just say that even if you spend 1 hour with them, you will learn like years of lessons from them. So it's amazing. Yeah,
absolutely, it is. And we need to seek out people like that. But that brings back to your original question, which is, did the person who hired you for the job, did he act that way? What would it be like to have a boss who was like Pir Vilayat Inayat Khan, who was humble, curious about you, wanted to talk about you more than talk about himself? And isn't that wonderful?
Yes, that would be. Yeah, it's a very good comment by, I think she's Courtney. I don't know why the LinkedIn is not showing her name. So it's an excellent point you make about your journey growing up and the influence others can have on our perspective of who we are. Yes.
Well, thank you for that. And you're so right. And bringing it back to the thing of leading without titles. Imagine having a person you work for, supervisor, CEO of the company, whatever, who sees you, understands you, is amused when you mess something up, thinks it's funny that you're still trying to get up the ladder or do this, and can just help you go and help you grow. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to do, and it people can lead from wherever they are in a company.
Yes.
You don't have to be the top guy. You can be people who do what I do, particularly in the speech writing world, and are sometimes called CEO whisperers, because I was in there with leaders of some of the biggest companies in the world. I was not threatening. I was just some guy who was going to write a speech for him. I wasn't going to take over the company or anything. And I would be in a conversation, asking questions about the company. And as I got more experienced at it over a few years, I would, instead of asking, what do you want to say? I would ask, why aren't you saying this?
Yeah.
And they would sometimes have an answer for that, or sometimes they would stop and go, oh, that's a really good question. Why aren't we saying that?
Yeah.
And all I was just a guy who talked to enough CEOs to be able to listen and wonder why this one had left that issue out of engaging the people or building up stronger leaders in the middle of the company, whatever point that I heard was missing or wasn't hearing from him.
Yeah. I mean, you define that, if the leader is like that who's genuinely interested, who's genuinely helping you to grow their team member. So what practical steps you can actually give to our audience to become that leader who lead beyond those titles?
Well, so think of it this way. What if you decided that the way you did leadership, the way you approached leadership, was leadership as a love story? And your job was not to make the numbers or make the stuff. Your job was to make the people, make them feel whole, make them feel seen, understood. Because when that happens, what does it do to our hearts? We can feel that this person approves of us, doesn't get upset if we try something and it doesn't work, asks us questions, doesn't tell us how to do things, and just goes and builds. And that's a wonderful place to be if you're working in that place. But it's also, as a leader, what a wonderful person to be. What a wonderful mindset to be in.
Yes. Yeah. There's another question by Geeta. Dain, would it be accurate to say you don't want anything from the world and only here to give?
Well, I think I would feel too humble to say that. Would be accurate to say is I work hard on appreciating what I have and not wishing I had something else. And I do very well at that. I'm able to, and it's not just saying, well, I guess I'll never have that, so I'll just let it go. It's really no, wait a minute. I am here with my family and my dogs, and I have a little house out in the country. It's very pretty. I like to be here, and I don't want any more than that. And what was the second half of the question, Geeta?
It was this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one alone. Even when I other times think, well, I should be here to get a bonus or something, or I should be here to get paid more or something. No, I know that's not true. I'm only here to, what can I do to help people transform their lives? I got asked by a coach I was working with many years ago. And he said, I want you to think about and tell me what your purpose is, what you stand for as a person. And I thought about it and I said, I stand for being a really, really great writer. That's what I stand for. Oh, no, you don't get it. You got to think bigger. It's not.
Okay.
It's not the. It's not think big. I said, okay. So
Mhm.
okay, all right. I stand for being one of the top 10 writers in my generation.
Mhm.
I said, no, you
Oh.
really don't get it. Go think about it, and we'll meet next week and come back. So I came back a week later,
Mhm.
and by this time I had thought about it, and I thought about the people who I was working with and creating speeches or helping them on stage and what I was doing. And I thought about if they did a good job at what they did, how many people did they affect? And I realized that just indirectly through the work I did, I had the power to touch the lives of a lot of people. And I thought, okay, well then how would I like to touch that? And I don't put this on my business card because people would think I was a little crazy. But what came into my mind, and I went in the next time and said it to this coach, I said, what I stand for is making leadership a path of enlightenment.
Wow. Yeah.
You can see
Yeah.
why I have to be
Yeah.
careful to say
Yeah.
that. But we've
Yeah.
gotten this far in the conversation. But think about it. If why would someone have to go up into the Himalayas, into a cave, or
Yeah.
some mountains in Arabia, and
Yeah.
and be up there alone for 30 years to get enlightened? Who are you helping? You're not doing
Yeah.
anything for anybody. But
Yeah.
if you could walk into an office, be given a job, whatever it is, sweeping the floor, but
Yeah.
your work and how you did it touched the hearts of people so much that it moved them towards enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, there's a one more comment that's, I know that I'm part of oneness, but it's only knowledge. I don't feel it, and therefore I can't live the piece of it.
Okay,
So,
Geeta. So let me make a suggestion. I I I want you to accept that and appreciate it that you can't feel it. And then I want you to start taking some time to really practice asking yourself who you're being and why. And really going back and looking for, was there a moment in childhood where you found that oneness? Has there ever been a moment where you held it? And nobody goes through it all the time. There's a
yeah.
saying in Zen, um, we seek enlightenment, we go into Zen, and then we come out and carry wood or carry water and chop wood.
Yeah.
You are not. We have this idea of being in the oneness would be, you're floating 6 inches above your chair. You're so one. Um,
Yeah.
just being able to notice that you're not feeling that. Take a deep breath, let it go, and then suddenly re-enter that oneness. Remember it, recall it. Um,
Yeah.
just with practice, you'll get there. And I don't mean in 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, she said that the overly marketed empathy cannot be taught in an hour. Yes.
Yeah,
It takes the want to learn, and we don't even have it defined correctly, though. It one of the biggest buzzword. Yes, this
yeah,
talk is beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah.
I know, like, it's like we are actually going over time, but I want to ask one question that was by the end of the book actually mentioned, and that was something that I know that you have attended like few of my sessions before, and you know that this is my book is all about, and this is one question that I've been looking for. And you actually said that, we don't create our destiny, we participate in unfolding it. I mean, that is something that has really hit me. What does that mean? What could you please explain?
Well, what I meant by that is we all have this understanding that if I want to make it to the Olympics, I've got to go out and I've got to do this kind of training, eat this diet, do these kinds of things, and spend years doing that. And that's true if you want to get into the swimming or the whatever part of it is. But what we're talking about here And even then, I'll go back to that. But even what we're talking about here is something different. That there is a self inside you, your essential self, who from early childhood has been calling to you. And now she's not saying, someday you're going to be a CEO. She's just going to say, someday you are going to more and more find yourself and find what you stand for and what you can give and express that beautifully. It may be going to the Olympics. It may be being a coach at the Olympics. It may be the person who sweeps the floor of the basketball stadium and then goes out and helps people in the street.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but that's the unfolding. It's learning who. So in my case, the story of writing that little article and sending it to the magazine, that was my destiny unfolding. And I had worked very, very hard to get to that point. I didn't always know what I was working. Believe me, it never occurred to me that I would be a corporate speechwriter.
Yeah.
But the time I spent from a very small childhood writing and thinking about writing and thinking about being a writer, that was a destiny that unfolded for me.
Yeah.
And we all have that. Your destiny that unfolds is very much in the process of unfolding.
Yeah.
The books that you've written. You told me about the book, your son.
Yeah.
That's you helping destinies unfold around you.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, you defined it so beautifully. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I know that actually we've gone a little over time, but actually I was so much enjoying this conversation, and there were lots of comments coming up, so I just let it go. So before I actually, end this conversation, what one piece of advice would you like to give to our audience today?
When you think about leadership as a love story, it starts with you. Your ability to love yourself, stop all the voices that are telling you that you're not good enough, you're not big enough, you're not smart enough. All those 4-year-old, 5-year-old things that other kids said to us that we believed and made part of our life, or things that our parents said, or teachers who just told us that.
Yeah.
Your leadership goal is to love yourself. And I don't mean that's ego. I mean so deep in your heart.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I absolutely love that. And Geeta, thank you so much. And thanks, Geeta, for participating in this conversation and actively asking questions and commenting. So thank you so much. Thanks to Courtney also for being active audience. And lastly, just tell our audience that how they can reach out to you. What is the best way to reaching out to you?
Okay. Either through LinkedIn. We're here on LinkedIn, so just look up Dain Dunston. I'm the only one.
Yeah.
So that's probably the easiest way. But you can also go to daindunston.com, or you can go to my company reservoir.llc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, find out in your website, in your reservoir.
Okay, I will just share that link also after this. And that's also Courtney saying, thank you for this incredible session, Amreen, and greatly enjoyed the discussion. Truly appreciate your sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Dain, I'm going to remember this Dain leadership as a love story. This is beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
I did too. This is wonderful.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.